מבושל, מכין מגולגל, וטס לחלל. אני מבושל, אני מבושל, אני מבושל, אני מגולגל, אני מגולגל, אני מחושמל, אני מבושל, אני מבושל, מכין מגולגל, וטס לחלל. אני מבושל, מכין מגולגל, וטס לחלל. אני מבושל, אני מבושל, אני מבושל, אני מטוגן, אני מטורלל, אני מחושמל, אני מבושל, אני מבושל, מכין מגולגל, וטס לחלל, וטס לחלל, וטס לחלל, וטס לחלל.
Hello everybody, I am Brenner Bear-Lat, and today we are here with Esports Tower Rumble. We're going to be playing some Street Fighter V, some Street Fighter 3, and some Guilty Gear. I am here joined with my co-caster, and we're going to start it off with some Street Fighter V. I'm going to start with the opening question of, with the new fighter Rose recently introed into the game, what do you think is going to change up these players with that new character added in?
So, Rose is actually a returning character. She was in 2 previous Street Fighter games. This is her latest incarnation, and every character gets changed a little bit in between games. So since Rose is such a new character, and she brings a few new mechanics that we haven't seen in Street Fighter V before, like debuffs and being able to buff herself in the middle of combat, it's really interesting to see that different play style that maybe revolves more around the buffs and the debuffs, and getting things set up in a very aggressive, fast-paced game like Street Fighter V.
Yeah, Street Fighter is a little bit different from the traditional fighting games that I'm into, which is Mortal Kombat. So Street Fighter, you back up to block. We see a lot of super, the VE meter, as well as the stun meter. So a lot of those bringing factor in, it's a lot for the players to focus on top of countering their opponent. With this being a very much faster-paced game, how do you think that might play out tonight?
So I've seen a little bit of these two players play. Both of them are more into our next title, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, but a lot of those skills carry over, a lot of that meter management, a lot of that keeping one eye in your corner, one eye in your health bar, one eye on the opponent, all of that. So I'm excited to see how this plays out today.
Yeah, and you mentioned they're going over to Street Fighter 3 as well. What is the difference between 3 and 5 that's going to be a huge thing to notice for us?
So Street Fighter 3 is a much, much older game than Street Fighter 5. It came out in the 90s, but it's still played today quite religiously, if I had to say so myself. It's a fantastic game. If you've ever seen the really famous clip of the, it's called Evo Moment 37. It's a very famous clip in esports and in the fighting game community in general. That came from Street Fighter 3. So it's also a very fast-paced game. It's often considered to be more fair footsies based, less comeback mechanics and stuff like that exist in the game. So I'm excited to see all of our games, but that one especially tonight as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to be interesting. This isn't like a Tekken or Soul Calibur where it's the 3-dimensional. We're on the 2D plane, so these players are just going to go head-to-head in this first best of 3. So we'll have to see how this plays out as the players are getting ready to go.
So it looks like, from what I can see, we're going to have Sakura versus Ryu, which is an interesting matchup, actually, in this game. Both are what are called Shotos. This is kind of the stock fighting game character, Ryu and Ken, of course, being the classical example of this. So they have their big uppercuts, they have their big flying hurricane kicks, and they have a fireball, and they don't have too many other tricks aside from that. So these two characters have the same tools that they apply in different ways. Sakura has been a bit more stable in terms of her place in the meta throughout all of Street Fighter V, but Ryu, in the last balance patch, received a whole lot of buffs. He is considered much, much better than he was previously.
Yeah, and we also saw him changing around their 2 V skills there. Will that make the huge difference here with them just moving to the 1 or the 2?
So the V skill and V trigger options in this game, they actually are completely dependent on the matchup for which one you want to take for most characters. We see Sakura with her V skill 1 and her V trigger 2, and Ryu with the same setup. So Ryu's V skill 1 is his classic parry move. You can time it right to block a move and recover quicker so that you can actually punish your opponent for even trying to hit you. There we see that big wake up EX uppercut from Sakura. The moves like that you see, they're huge. They come up off the ground. The character flashes when they use them. It's actually fully invincible, so it's great for trying to get pressure off you. And right there, that hop we saw from Sakura, that's her V skill 1. It's a hop off the ground, and she has 2 different follow-ups from it. One is that juggle move right there that we just saw, and then she can also do a dive kick out of it as well.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of throws here and a lot of mix-ups here with those iframes coming into factor here. We saw that with the wake-up attack as well. He tried to go for the ground pound, and it was just not there. We see the throw come back once again to finish off that little last bit of health. And Sakura takes the first round in this best of 3.
So that's a weakness of Ryu's parry in this game. It can parry almost any hit in the game, but if you react to it with a throw instead of trying to hit Ryu when he's parrying, the throw will go through all on its own. Kind of hard to block something that's trying to grab you. So we're returning to that classic Street Fighter gameplay here. Very, very old concept in competitive gaming in general. You know, fireball jump in, kind of a rock, paper, scissors game. You want to throw your fireballs. Here we see the super. Sakura's super actually has 2 different forms that it can take in this game. If it catches the opponent at close range, then it's much bigger cinematic, but if it goes further, it's a multi-hitting fireball that also does a lot of damage.
Yeah, Sakura really utilizing those throws, as you mentioned, is Ryu's weakness, and she does take this first matchup here. Do you think the Ryu player might swap up his character with that grapple really being his weakness in that matchup?
I know both of our players I've seen them play quite a few characters each, but it looks like we're just hopping right back into it, so I guess not.
Yeah, as we turn to this matchup, we're going to see Ryu open up strongly, especially with that windmill kick, but that wake up for Sakura really securing the good damage. So with Ryu just now using the rest of his super and Sakura having that 1 bar that she just burned but was sadly blocked out, we're going to see these V triggers coming up soon. Do you think they're going to be the big game changer here with Sakura already down to her last third?
So V trigger in Street Fighter V is the comeback mechanic, for lack of a better term. You gain that meter when you take damage or use certain moves. The important thing with it is that it is gone at the end of the round. So if you'll notice, the bar is empty at the end of the round, and they don't fill up again at the start of the round, but the EX meters right below them do stay in between rounds.
Yeah, that was a very quick win for our Ryu player. One thing we haven't mentioned yet is that stun bar right underneath the player's health. We've seen it go up to about half so far, but no player has been able to pull off that combo yet. Can you talk to us about that?
Stun is a mechanic that's been in Street Fighter since Street Fighter 2. Only some games have had a visible stun bar, others kept you in fear by not actually showing you how close you were to being stunned. It's different for each game, just depending on how much information is required for you to be able to play the game. In Street Fighter V, there are a lot of very big damage combos with a lot of hits, and stun, well, obviously it's called a stun bar. Once it reaches all the way to the end, your character will be dizzy. This is like a stun in any game that you would play, League of Legends or anything like that, where you're just left open for a while.
Yeah, we do see Sakura once again with those throws taking the second round. So as we move on to the final round, what do you think is Ryu's comeback here, or the things we should be focusing on?
So both of these players, I've noticed there's a lot of neutral play going on. So at this range and closer, mostly just sticking buttons out there trying to catch your opponent off guard. And this is a big opportunity here those EX reversals that we talked about, when they're blocked or avoided, they leave you extremely vulnerable. They're in a counter hit state. And there's the stun that we just talked about. And close out with the super. We are 1-1 for our competitors. This is technically our finals match, as so we're going to be playing a best of 5 set in Street Fighter V right now.
Yeah, so do you think either of these players will swap off their characters, now each having a win apiece? They might swap it up to have that different moveset and set the other player off?
I couldn't really tell you. It looks like we're going back to character select, so it's a definite possibility. Our Ryu player, Great Golden Legs, is also in our third stripe bracket, but we are seeing the character change from Sakura to E Honda, which he's allowed to do. We allow the loser to swap characters in between games, not the winner. If you do well, you have to stay on that character. So E Honda versus Ryu, this is a much different matchup. E Honda, he's famous for his super headbutt move. He flies across the screen and just hits you with his head, as well as his 100-hand slap. So he's another character that's been in the Street Fighter series since almost its inception, since Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, with him being more of a heavier character and Ryo having those Hadoukens to kind of zone him out, do you think we might see a bit more of a distance player with the Honda closing in the distance and already cornering Ryo as he has to jump out of the corner? You think he might be playing on his back foot here?
It's a definite possibility. Honda has his own tools to get past the fireballs, even if he doesn't have one of his own. We see there's a new mechanic that just got added recently called V-Shift that we saw attempted to be used there. Didn't quite pan out like was wanted by Mu there. But this is where Honda shines usually, is when he has his opponent in the corner. He can just keep pressuring you. We saw a whiffed command grab. Honda is kind of a grappler type character. He wants to get in close, stay in close. Is kind of a marriage between the classic rushdown, combo-centric combo and the slower grappler kind of character.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of throws here, not many escapes, because these players are timing it very well. Honda closing the distance, as you mentioned, with that headbutt, so definitely putting Ryo in this trouble as we see the throw come out right away, and even the anti-air with the super coming out from Honda, evening up the health bars right away.
We notice a lot that our Ryu player Legs, he really likes to use that sweep just to punish everything. Unsafe move, sweep. You're at the wrong range, sweep. He lands those all the time. It's ridiculous. And the sweep is such a powerful move because it's one of the fastest moves in the game that can cause a knockdown when your opponent's on the ground. An honorable opponent in a real fight might let your opponent get up, take a breather, but that's not how it works in Street Fighter. You got to close in and make the most of your opportunity to apply pressure.
Yeah, Honda's down to the last sliver of health with those Hadoukens coming out, and we're going to see a great counter come out from Ryu and take this round. Might see a possible swap off Honda as the Ryu was able to just shut him down very quickly here.
So that was extremely well timed. Ryu's V-Trigger 2, which he activated towards the end of the round there, gives him an enhanced version of his parry. His usual parry, if he times it correctly, just kind of swats your attack aside, maybe leaves you open. We're getting right back into it here. But his V-Trigger 2 parry, it actually has a counterattack built in. And it recently got a bunch of buffs that also allows him to add that ender into almost any of his special moves, which is one of the big things that made him a much better character this season as opposed to last.
Yeah, Honda definitely able to close that distance here as we jump right back into it. We're already half and half for these life bars with Ryu using that meter with the wake-up attack. Honda does have the current health advantage, but with Street Fighter being a very fast-paced game, it's going to get closed quickly with that throw as well. Both players kind of keeping the distance. The head dash comes in, taking Ryu to low health, but he's going to be able to get the combo off. And with a sliver of health, Honda's on the back end and is able to get it.
You can see
very good closing round with no visible health remaining.
Ryu was looking to interrupt that block string that Honda had him in. one of the powerful things about a V trigger is that many of them they're kind of extra buffs as opposed to moves on their own. So you activate them and then you have access to this extra move instead of the V trigger being the move itself. That's how it is with both these characters. E Honda's V trigger 1, which he's currently using, gives him access to a more powerful headbutt, where Ryu's, as we talked about, gives him access to a more powerful parry.
Yeah, Ryu also getting pretty close to his super there unless he burns some of that meter on some of his special moves. Honda only having the 1 bar, but getting pretty close to maxing out his V meter as well, with Ryu just triggering his. Ryu low health as well, so Honda does have the advantage, but getting poked down ever so slightly, is able to land that dash, then even manages to counter the aerial coming out from Ryu. So Honda takes this second matchup. We might see a possible change from the Ryu, but he was able to hold his own against that Honda for quite a bit, so.
I think that makes us 2-2, and it looks like we're getting right back into it here. But I was saying before, the activation of a V-trigger lets you make a lot of moves safe. So that sweep move that we talked about earlier, if it's blocked, it's kind of a risky button because it has a lot of recovery to it, so it leaves you unsafe. And we saw Honda attempt to punish that, but didn't quite reach with his own sweep. But if your sweep is blocked and you see that it's blocked, you can activate your V-trigger to not only make it safe for you to use, but actually to give yourself advantage.
Yeah, we see Honda's moves are also a bit harder hitting, getting that stun meter filled a lot quicker than Ryu is, and Ryu already tying the health back, able to get a very good combo on Honda. Honda's not doing too well, getting stuck in the corner, is able to do the throw escape. Ryu went for the Hadouken, but Honda's putting the pressure on, and with the 1,000-hand strike is able to get it. Even gets the animation throwing him through the wall.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Honda is a classic character where maybe it's a little bit more tough for him to get openings, but once he does, it's gonna hurt. The anti-air crouching medium punch, I think that was. Smart to go for a reset there in the air instead of a normal anti-air that would just knock him down. If you hit your opponent when they're in the air with most normal attacks, it actually lets them land on their feet, which may seem like a bad thing, but if you know your character well enough, that can actually lead to a lot of different setups and a lot of ambiguous scenarios where you might get hit for more damage than you would have with just a normal anti-air attack.
Yeah, those knockout combos are quite deadly in most of these fighting games, so we're going to see Honda pulling out the double body slam, and one of them even meter to get Ryu quite low. Things are not looking too good for him, but in most fighting games, a symbol combo can definitely even out the fight, if not win you with this low health. Each player here even has a bar of meter. Ryu just used his to try to knock the Honda back. Definitely trying to zone him out with the lower health, but Honda with the headbutt is able to take it. Honda, winner of this matchup.
Very, very well done. That Honda charged headbutt is such a scary move because it has a hit of armor on it, which we saw Ryu defeat earlier by using his meter burn version of his fireball. But that's not the case with the normal one. It only has one hit, so the hit of the fireball is actually absorbed, and the headbutt can go all the way through, which is a really, really scary and oppressive tool. Not to mention, if he's fully charged the headbutt, like he did just at the end of that last round, it actually will break your guard if you attempt to block it. So it's a very scary move to let Honda get up.
Yeah, those bigger characters having the heavier hitting moves and breaking that armor can be very bad, because with those iframes, Ryu's a bit more of a faster character, which is why we saw him jumping so much, trying to get around or even jump away, able to throw those fireballs and try to zone him out when he was at so low health. But that headbutt was able to close the distance and win Honda the match. So going into this next thing, what are you expecting to see from these players?
So I think that actually is our best of 5 done. Went a bit faster than I expected, I think. We have a bit more time than I thought we would for this, so if they'd like to play more, they absolutely can. But Street Fighter V is kind of on its way out as a game. We just entered our 6th season, even though it's called Season 5. We don't ask why. So it's on its way out. We're kind of expecting a new Street Fighter in the next 2 years as a community, the hypothetical Street Fighter 6. And there have been, as all games are, leaks and stuff like that. That just help.
Yeah, and with that new
Spawn the
character
rumors.
Rose being introduced in this Season 5, Season 6 area, it would be definitely a good time to kind of tail out the game and enter in the new one. And we are going to throw it to a short 5-minute break as we swap over here. So hopefully you'll come back and join us.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
bothering you? We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth. Tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth. Tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof. Tell me the truth. Tell me what's bothering you. We know we're future proof. We know we're future proof.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Esports Game Pansery. And I am Brennan Berland, and we are here with our Esports Rumble today, playing some Street Fighter V. We just finished up our final match, so we're going to have some exhibition games as we are ahead of schedule. With these players just finishing up their final match, what do you think they're going to pull out for these exhibition matches to have a little bit more fun here, as we see a bit more of a retro style here?
So, Street Fighter 3 is much more popular game in our scene, in the local Idaho scene. So right now it looks like we're just playing some Akuma games. Everyone plays a little bit of Akuma. He's, you know, he feels like he's the best in every Street Fighter game. He's the classic, you know, kind of dark side to Ryu's. He's the Sith to Ryu's Jedi, if that makes sense. So he's powerful in most games that he shows up in.
Yeah, and he does have that low health final death move where if he hits you with it, it is the instant kill, as we love to see. But we're already in the 1-1 with these exhibition matches. And with these mirror matches, essentially with the Akuma, is there anything you're hoping to see come out from these players?
So I have to be completely honest. I hate Akuma so much. He's so annoying to fight. Air fireballs are so annoying to deal with. This is complete bias coming out here. I am not a professional commentator. I will be biased. But Akuma, he's a very flashy character. He has these big combos that are great to watch. And Street Fighter 3 is just such a sick game. If you're trying to get into fighting games and you just want to like learn the basics of it, get into it, and have a skill set that you can bring to most other games, Street Fighter 3 is the way to go. And you know, we have a great supportive community here, especially around Street Fighter 3. So we're seeing both of them change up characters. This isn't a tournament set. We're just kind of playing to play right now. So Alex and Q, if you don't mind me getting completely nerdy about this for a moment, Alex is a character that's also appeared in a couple Street Fighter games. He's in Street Fighter V, which we didn't see him played, but we did. He is on the roster of that game. Q has only ever appeared in Street Fighter 3, but there's a interesting connection with a Street Fighter V character named G, both in only having one letter in their names, and a lot of their moves act very similarly. So we have no like information about them in terms of like lore or the story or anything like that. So there's a lot of fun, just a lot of fun that happens with those two characters, because people know they're connected, people don't know how. Everyone's trying to figure it out, and as we approach the release of Street Fighter 6, which is set to be a sequel to Street Fighter 5 in terms of like story. Lots of people are hoping to get a few more answers on the mystery about this trench coat robot man.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be the interesting character with a lot of lunges, as we saw Alex in the first round do a lot of throws consistently and able to clean it up quite quickly. We're going to see Q answer with a throw of his own to take that second round as we near this final round. What do you think we're going to see a lot from these players with a lot of throws coming out as they're blocking consistently?
So both these characters have very, very powerful command grabs. Alex actually has a couple of his own. He's the main grappler character of this game. Hugh is a bit more of a weird one. He does only have one command grab, but it's somewhat unique in that it actually leads to a combo of its own, which is not a uncommon thing in Street Fighter, but it's kind of rare. And G in Street Fighter V, if you watched the last beatdown, you saw him in action, also has a similar command grab that can lead to a combo. So it's a different type of, you have to look out for different things. Command grabs, as opposed to your normal throw, they tend to be more powerful, either in terms of damage or lead to combos, something like that. But they have much, much more recovery attached to them as well. So if you avoid the command grab, you're going to take some damage. You're going to be able to deal some damage to whoever tried to command grab you in most cases.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they were two of the better grappler fighters with a lot of those command grabs, as you mentioned. So in this next exhibition match, do you think we might see some of more opposite play styles, whether it's a heavier fighter, a lot slower moving, or one more of a zoner that tries to stay away and deal range damage to you?
The great thing about these exhibition matches, casual matches, whatever you want to call them, is that you never know. Although looking at the screen over there, we're seeing Urian versus Ryu. Urian actually has an interesting history in this game. He was, for the longest time when this game first came out, considered to be not a great character. And then, back in the 90s when this game came out, there was no online play, so you couldn't just look at anyone across the world and, find out what was going on over there. So at one of the rare occasions where American and Japanese players did meet up, the Japanese had completely figured out how to play Urian in this setup, combo-heavy, oppressive style that he actually carried over into Street Fighter V with him when he showed up in that game as well. We've seen a few of his different special moves and tools come out so far. He has that fireball called Metallic Sphere. He has that shoulder charge, and maybe the most famous move of his is called Aegis Reflector. It's this mirror that he pops up and it lingers around on screen for a while. He can deflect projectiles with it. It is a mirror, but actually its main use is, since it stays around so long, you can put it behind your opponent and hit them into it so they bounce off of it, so you hit them again, bounce, 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 to extend combos like crazy.
Yeah, definitely the juggler character with some zoning mechanics, as we see early on, him throwing a lot of those balls. And there's that mirror wall you just mentioned, trying to get that knockup, but he just wasn't close enough to the wall to get those bounce-ups consistently. But we are going to see a wall juggle there, get a lot of damage onto that Ryu with a lot of those command grabs, as you've been mentioning, just able to pick him up with the stun bar, even getting halfway full. But Ryu able to just let it go down, blocking in that corner. He hasn't been able to jump over, as Urian has that taller hitbox as well. And with those command grabs, he is able to finish it out with the health, evening it up to 1-1.
Urian is such a great character to watch in this game. His combos are so explosive. He's interesting. His visual design is cool to look at. As actually we just saw, I was just about to bring this up. So where in Street Fighter V, Ryu had a dedicated move that was a parry, and a few other characters shared similar moves. Parrying is a universal mechanic in Street Fighter III. Everyone has access to it. It is much more difficult to do, though. So the way you do it is when you're blocking, you're about to block a move, you actually want to tap forward, so the opposite direction you hold to block, for just the moment it hits. And if you do it correctly, you'll parry the move, so it'll do no damage. You'll be at advantage for when the move ends. It's a very, very powerful tool that requires a lot of technical prowess to be able to pull off.
Yeah, and in this matchup that just finished up, we saw Ryu definitely playing further back, trying to zone out that Urian, but with that shoulder charge, he was able to close that distance very quickly, and throwing those mirror walls definitely helped block out that zoning mechanic that Ryu has with those fireballs. So it was a quick matchup here. So as we send it over to the next one, as we see our players do a quick little swap out, what do you think we're going to see from this newcomer?
So Mitch, we call him MF in the community. He's probably, I'd say, our primary third strike fanatic. This guy's always in the Discord server. It's great. He goes into general and he says, anyone want to play some Third Strike or Guilty Gear? And it's always when I'm out of the house. I am never, ever in the house when this guy wants to play games. So I think I've gotten to play him once, and I haven't touched Third Strike very much. So I was kind of button mashing, and he won handedly, let's put it that way. But Mitch, lots of pressure on you right now. I'm expecting great things. I want to see another moment to 37. I want you to parry a full super or something like that.
Yeah, you brought up Guilty Gear, which is a game we're having later on tonight. Kind of bring up what's the differences between that and the two Street Fighters we've seen so far.
So Guilty Gear is insanity as a fighting game. It is developed by a company called Arxis Studios, which is famous for a lot of anime fighting games. But Guilty Gear is their flagship title. It's their baby. They're most known for developing Dragon Ball FighterZ, which we saw in the last beatdown. But Guilty Gear is a very, very old franchise in the fighting game community. The installment we'll be playing today is its most recent, and I want to say its 4th or 5th game. We have a new Guilty Gear called Guilty Gear Strive coming out in June that everyone is very, very excited for. Here we see MF's Yang, which is the character he beat me senseless with. Yang is the rushdown character. As you can see, he's jumping all over the place. He's crossing you up with that dive kick move. He's rushing you down. It is insanity personified as a character in Third Strike. And you can just see, like, how many hits was that? I don't even know how many hits that was, but it was crazy. Yang is another character that would be seen later in the franchise, but would keep a lot of his Third Strike style to him, which is absolutely great for other games because Third Strike was designed around these new characters. A lot of very classic Street Fighter characters aren't actually in this game. So, names like Guile and Honda and Zangief and characters like that don't really make an appearance in this game. So they have not equivalents or functions, if you want to use that word, but different interpretations of them that were designed for Third Strike as a game with its unique systems. And then they take these popular characters from Third Strike that kind of exist in their own little world, and then they bring them into other Street Fighter games, and it's just insane. We saw that with Urien, who's been very strong in Street Fighter V since he was introduced. Yang and his brother Yun were very, very powerful in Street Fighter IV, which is the last game we saw them in. It's kind of a trend for Street Fighter III characters to be extremely powerful in other games they show up in.
Yeah, in that matchup we just saw, we saw Yang, as you mentioned, the all-out assault character, but it seems that once he got the Urien into the corner, he wasn't able to do much of his combos as he's unable to really jump behind him, because if he does that, puts him in a negative situation. And also in that first matchup, we also saw him able to stun Urien out with that all-out assault. So pretty brutal character here in Street Fighter 3 with these exhibition matches, but now we're seeing Urien have a bit more of a comeback, not totally one-sided just yet with that command grab slamming him into the ground, but we already see Yang with his super even activating it here for the bonus damage, burning him down with that 11-hit combo coming right out.
If you notice, actually, Urien was blocking for that entire combo. All that damage was dealt as chip damage. So to make blocking less, invincible in many, many fighting games, not even just Street Fighter 3, it actually, if you block and attack, it'll do a small amount of damage. Barely noticeable in most situations. But when you get to a low health situation like this, a poorly timed move that you have to block might just chip you out.
Yeah, we had the same thing in Mortal Kombat back when I played in the day, and that chip damage definitely adds up if you're unable to get the counter off or even the throw for that matter, so you can only block for so long. So you already see the Urien backed up into the corner trying to throw a couple of those electric balls down at Yang to zone him out, seeing as he's been that rush all in character. A lot of combos coming out the same move pretty consistently. We even saw the jump and the shoulder charge come out from Urien. Might be able to take this first round here.
Urien definitely is in an advantage. And there's the back throw to confirm the round.
Yeah, it seems throws for Urine has definitely been his stronger suit versus Yang's all-out assault. Throwing those electric balls as well has been pretty good, with even the blocks come out. No chip damage yet on a Yang. Have yet to see a flawless come out as well, which I would love to see, but I think these players just know how to counter a bit too well to ever let it go.
Yeah, like I was saying before, Street Fighter 3 is one of our scene's primary games. It's Street Fighter 3 and Tekken are kind of our scene's favorite games. So I wish that we had a bit more of a turnout today, just so that we could see that real high level play, like as good as we can get.
Yeah, Tekken definitely a much higher skill cap game with that three-dimensional and a lot more variety of characters there. But sticking with Street Fighter in the 2D fights, we're going to see Yang once again with that all-out assault take the second round in the match. This Yang player has definitely been a force to be reckoned with in that Urien, just simply did not have an answer other than those command grabs and throws.
I'm ready to see what Mitch does when he's playing to win a tournament and not just playing a play. It looks like we're having a technical issue or two, so looks like we need a moment before we get things back on screen.
Yeah, fighting games definitely not our strong suit, so they definitely like to throw a wrench into the gears. But as we mentioned before, this is Street Fighter 3, the esports rumble that we got going on right now. We already had our Street Fighter 5 match up come on. And as we head into this Street Fighter 3 with Guilty Gear on the way, as you mentioned previously, these two games, both the traditional 2D fighters with Guilty Gear being more of the anime style. For these players, is that a big change-up for them, or is it still kind of the same with the fighting sticks?
So we're going to be using the same controllers throughout the whole deal, but the play style of Guilty Gear, there's kind of a joke that everyone's a rushdown character in Guilty Gear. It's a very, very fast game, a very, very high-flying game. I mean that literally. They're insane air combos that last for tens of seconds.
Yeah, they're definitely living to the name of anime for sure.
Well, we all have needs. It's a different style of game. It'd be like if you're used to playing classical music your whole life and you're a brilliant musician, technically skilled, no music theory and all that, but then you're just like handed through the fire and flames and expected to play it first try. It's not that there's no skills that transfer, it's just that it's such a different kind of different goal and a different style.
Different rhythm.
Different rhythm, exactly. Well put.
Yeah, fighting game's all about that rhythm, especially with the flow of combos and those aerials trying to get the counters and throws. We saw that transfer over through many of these games, especially in 2D fighters like Mortal Kombat and the Street Fighter and Guilty Gear and Dragon Ball Z. They don't have to have that complication of the Soul Calibur and Tekken, those 3D planes where you can jump side to side and kind of throw your opponent off, where they constantly have to keep you in front of them. Because if they miss that swing attack, that opens up a lot of opportunities there. So in these 2D fighters, if you were to swap over to the 3D, what do you think these players would do in that situation?
That's an interesting question. In any 3D fighter, the way I like to think about it, fighting games are all about the use of space and their design. So where in Street Fighter, which we've seen a lot of today, it looks simple on the surface. You have your flat plane, and then you can go up, and you can go left and right, and you could theoretically go down, I guess. And in Tekken, you have your 3D plane, where you step back and forth and into and out of the frame. But the difference with Tekken and Soul Calibur and games like that is that they don't use a lot of that vertical space. One, because it's very, very difficult design to do so. If you think jumping at someone is hard in a 2D game, imagine doing it when they can also just sidestep you, right? So the classic fireball jump in gameplay of a lot of 2D fighters isn't necessarily present in games like Tekken and Soul Calibur. So it's a lot more about knowing which directions attacks go and being able to read that sort of stuff. But as we get back into the Street Fighter 3, we'll see that fireball jump in principle that I was talking about earlier, where you can see a fireball and you can jump over it, but if you do that too late, you're going to get hit with an uppercut. And if you do it early enough, you'll get to land a jump-in attack. It's just that Yang happens to be really, really good at the jump-in attacks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, those Russian fighters really got to nail in that perfect timing to try to catch their opponent off guard rather than just getting stuck in the guard in the corner. As we see Ryu already eliminated just 30 seconds into this match, with Yang not even falling below half HP. This Yang player definitely being a force to be reckoned with, and no one seems to have an answer for him just yet. If you're in the situation, what would your answer be for this Yang just rushing at you?
Panic, maybe, is a good answer. Suppose the classic theory answer is that eventually they have to do something that's not safe. Eventually they have to have a hole in their offense, and that's when you should strike back. But that's, if you don't know a lot about the game, or if you're in a high pressure situation, it can be really difficult to remember those things. We've all been there. Even if you don't play fighting games, you've been taking a test or something and can't remember what the formula you're using is or whatever. I don't do math anymore. But it's just that pressure to perform properly. So that's what makes Yang such a powerful character in this game. That, and he has some really oppressive tools, like the dive kick we've seen probably 100 times already by now, I'd say. That move right there, it's so powerful because you don't know which side it's going to hit you on necessarily, and in Street Fighter you need to pick a side to block on.
Yeah, Street Fighter 3 seemed not the most balanced game, with Yang just absolutely tearing everyone apart he's faced so far.
If you think this is bad, let me tell you about a character named Ken.
Ken's just a mirror for you, it's fine.
I know some people who are very, very mad at Ken that would like to speak to you about that statement.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, this whole event, the Beatdown at Voice Estate, exists because we love getting ourselves out there. We love being seen by more people. So if you have any interest in fighting games, or not even an interest, or just like, oh, I want to hit people with cross-up dive kicks that are unreactable, Mitch, then maybe we can, there are many ways to get into the scene. If you play a game already and just don't know anyone to play it with, we'd be more than happy to have you at a tournament. Or if you're looking to get into it, we have a really active Discord server that everyone is more than welcome to join, ask questions, see if fighting games are for them.
Yeah, the call out to Mitch as well. You're going to get that 1v1 set up to see if you can finally be the person to beat him in this one-on-one so far for this matchup right now. Ryu's having a comeback, trying to learn a bit of the Yang mix-up, but Yang still having that health advantage and that rush, really putting the pressure on. We might see a couple fireballs come out here to try to zone him out since he is the rush-down character, but looks like with those command grabs and the knee to the chest is really taking him out, and even with the wake-up attack, able to deny it and put him on his butt. Yang takes it once again. No one yet been able to stop this player.
So that palm strike move that we keep seeing from Yang is such a powerful move. It's kind of deceptive in how it wants to hit you. So if you notice, he kind of pulls back before he actually hits you, and that makes a lot of moves whiff. If you're, say, in a block string from Yang, like I so often am, and then he suddenly stops attacking and pulls back for a moment, you're like, oh, I should use a really quick move here to try to interrupt him. And then he's like 18 miles away from you, and then you have your arm all the way out here, and then you just get pushed into, and he has a combo going all over again.
Yeah, Street Fighter 3 has definitely been the more fast-paced game compared to 5, with no one really using their supers because they haven't really got them in time because they just die that quickly, as Ryu has his now. But with that sliver of health, he's not able to even stay alive long enough to use it, and his stun meter even got up to 75%, so Yang just really putting the hurt on here. He does have it going into the next round, so we might see it come out just so he can take the round victory.
One thing in Street Fighter 3 that I actually really, really like. I think this is really cool. Where in Street Fighter V we talked about the V skill and V triggers that are used kind of to compensate for matchups, either to really beat someone into the ground with better tools or to try to get a bit of an edge in what would be a bad matchup. Street Fighter 3's version of that is that you actually get to pick one of 3 super moves to use. So it takes out a little bit of the breadth of a moveset, but as anyone will tell you, there's plenty of depth to be had just in that system. Different supers are good for different things. I believe Yang is currently using, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but we've seen 2 of his supers so far just in these sets. We've seen one where he gets like all these clones behind him that do more damage, let him do more combos, and we've seen one that's kind of a uppercut type move. So, or upper kick, I guess is the more apt term. And Ryu also has a few. He has his, that we just saw, his super enhanced fireball that can be used to, if someone has difficulty getting in, you can just punish them from full screen for stuff. It's great. Looks like Ryu actually took this set very, very well done.
It only took 3 or 4 matches. Kind of lost track with how fast this game is going, but he did it.
It's better than I do against Mitch, so yeah, Mitch is just loving all the attention I'm getting.
Everyone loves it when they can show off on stream, no less, with these exhibition matches in Street Fighter 3 for this beatdown brawl. You still have Guilty Gear as well coming up eventually once we get there. But with these exhibition matches, you also mentioned Akuma was a pretty strong character in this game. We only ever saw him for the first match, and with this Yang Ryu kind of bout going on with this rivalry non-stop. Yang really laying the hurt on Ryu, especially after just losing that match. What are you hoping to see from this Ryu for this comeback, especially now that he just won his first match against this Yang?
So adaptation is very, very important in any game you play, not just fighting games. But since fighting games are so much fast-paced than many, many other esports types games, that has to happen in a matter of seconds, not a matter of minutes, which can be really, really difficult to do. But any advantage you can get over your opponent really, really helps a lot. So it looks like Ryu's defense is getting a bit more solid. He's a bit more willing to answer where he thinks he should interrupt. Yang, he's a bit more willing to take risks with anti-air moves and stuff like that, which I think is the key. Yang is what some players would call a walking casino sometimes. You kind of have to guess where he's going to stop or, get hit. So
yeah, it's Ryu just using that super meter and Yang using that up kick, able to just finish out the round pretty strong for himself, making it a 1-1 here. So Yang trying to keep his win streak alive, even though he just lost the last game to Ryu. He's been pretty consistent here, but it seems like this Ryu player has been able to learn a thing or two about this character as the beatdown has continued. We even see the wake up. Sure, you can come out here. But sadly, it was unable to do enough damage, as we even see the stun bar come out with Yang's relentless strikes, and Ryu falls.
Very, very well done in the exhibition matches, but it is time to move on to our bracket for this game, which I'm very, very excited for. I will get the right people in the first match here, and then we will get underway. So these matches that you've been watching for the past half hour or so, they've just been warm-ups, practices, stuff like that, which is the core of the community. We don't necessarily come here to beat each other senseless. That's just an added bonus of coming together to play some fun fighting games.
Yeah, so as we set this up, we're going to throw it to a quick 2-minute break, and once we are done setting up and we get this bracket set up, we'll come back and we'll have some Street Fighter 3 for you.
news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables. But last week, I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full time.
While I work full time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Well, the problem is they're not, the city is not well enough organized to do their own investigation and make enough evidence to it. They're making us do it.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Esports Game Pants Arena. I am Brenner Braylat and we are returning to you with our bracket for Street Fighter 3 for our 4 players. We're going to be starting off with Mitch versus Moo in a best of 5. So we will have to see what these players are playing, and after that exhibition match with Mitch on Yang, we're going to have to wait and see if he's going to pull that out again and if any player has learned how to counter him. So for this upcoming possible Yang bout, is there anything you're hoping to see in this upcoming matchup?
So we just watched a bunch of Third Strike, and I'm excited to see what these players do at when they're competing for the title. This is the first time we've run Third Strike at the bracket, so this will be the first and reigning champ after. It's been a super popular game, so I'm thinking I might keep it around.
Yeah, Street Fighter 3, as you've said, has kind of been like the religious cult classic game that a lot of people like to turn back to, even with 5 being out and 6 coming out hopefully within the next 2 years. And with Rose just coming out for Street Fighter 5, we have a lot to look forward to, hopefully, from these players. But as we return to Street Fighter 3, you mentioned that Akuma is a very strong character in this lineup. As we go to the character selection screen, we're going to see that Yang come right back out. And this time, a newcomer, Chun-Li, who is obviously a Street Fighter classic, but who we have not seen in this tournament so far. So talk to us a little bit about her.
Chun-Li is the strongest woman in the world. She's a video game icon. She's also been in every Street Fighter game and pretty good in every Street Fighter game. This is considered a pretty quintessential Third Strike matchup here. Chun-Li wants to use her big buttons and like great quick buttons. We just saw that it's a crouching medium kick come out. It's super fast, reaches super far. She wants to use those buttons to keep you at a good distance where she can hit you, but you can't hit her. So kind of almost form of zoning, we call this footsies. And Yang, we've been seeing him for the past half hour, just wants to get in there. He wants chaos is what he wants.
Yeah, that all-in character, as we see Yang use that special move right there, but unable to hit it. She's with a sliver of health, but if she's able to get that combo off, she will definitely finish him off, but a simple throw or even light tap will take her out. With that combo just missing, Yang is able to just hit her in the back, and Yang takes the first round of this game 1, this best of 5. And Lee's opening up strong, but with Yang's all-out assault, we're going to have a quick flurry of blows there. So you see Yang even get the counter throw there. Yang does have his first level of super as well, so Hung Lee's got to watch out for that. Throws coming out as well.
Yeah, this has been some pretty great Third Strike so far. I've been enjoying it a lot. This is almost kind of a feast or famine matchup because either the Yang player is going to get in there and the Chun-Li is going to have to react to that, or the Yang just isn't going to find a way to get in. But it looks like that was actually really smart. An empty jump into the super art, trying to bait out anti-air attack, which worked fantastically this time around. Chun-Li's spinning bird kick is, one of her most famous iconic moves. It's her version of an invincible reversal. So whereas usually these are giant moves off the ground, this keeps her low to the ground, but it still has plenty of recovery on it, so you can still punish it if she misses. Mitch takes our first game of this first of 5 series, or best of 5, I apologize.
Yeah, Chun-Li, our newcomer that we just saw, was unable to beat this Yang, so hopefully in this upcoming, he might even change characters, because as you mentioned, loser has the option to swap off if they want to. So that maybe that may make all the difference, but it looks like we're just going to go right back into it for this matchup. And it looks like already Yang's off to a strong start with this all-in character of he's just going to rush you down and take you out as quickly as he can, but Chun-Li with a lot of those zoning out kicks should be able to hold her own ground as she's able to quickly just reverse and throw him into the corner, but immediately backs up to the center of the stage to give her space, give her some space. But already her health bar is not looking too good with the sun meter even already at half, but it looks like she might not even last that long with Yang all-out assault really putting the pressure on her.
Chun-Li is in a bad spot. There we go, we just saw it. But in the corner, Yang has so many options. That dive kick, the old reliable, which we've seen so much of today, especially in the corner, has great opportunity to cross you up, go to the other side, make you block. Kind of a get off me super there, using it for the invincibility and the great damage to make Chun-Li think about the pressure that she's putting on Yang's wake up here. But of course that does take a lot of resources. Chun-Li's own super gets stuffed by just those crouching little kicks.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, you've played a little bit and definitely way more than me. So if you were Chun-Li in this situation, just getting absolutely annihilated by Mitch on this Yang, what would you use in your kit to try to counter this as Yang takes game number 2?
So Chun-Li's best tools in her kit, and this is just how her archetype works in Street Fighter, what she wants to do, she wants to keep you right in that sweet spot where she can hit you, but you can't necessarily hit her all the time. It's very tricky to keep Yang in that situation, but Chun-Li has some very strong anti-air buttons that are fantastic to use. You do have to answer with the right one, depending on the whether the dive kick or the jump in is used, or whichever option Yang chooses on his aerial approach. But I think if Chun-Li can get a good read on how Yang is going to approach, that is going to be the key to victory here today.
Yeah, and we go into game number 3, refusing to change off this Chun-Li. Do you think that's a smart decision with how much Yang's just been able to consistently not even counter her, but just put the pressure on?
So, it's an interesting case. You've played a little bit of Mortal Kombat, so you know trying to swap to a different character can be a lot of pressure, and it can be very, very awkward. Especially in the middle of a set where you've just been playing this other character for, 2 or 3 games. It can be very difficult to switch to an entirely different move set, an entirely different game plan, sometimes even like a whole different philosophy of play almost is a good way of putting it. So the smartest option is always whatever you're comfortable with. If you can have another character in your roster that will help you compensate for bad matchups or something like that, that's a great tool to have, but the most important thing is if you're comfortable with your character.
Yeah, and that's definitely been the case for these players, because as you mentioned, this game's been out for just a little while, and we see Chun-Li finally able to take the first round against this Yang, even using that super art to finish him off. So good showing for her, even getting the S for that round.
I'll give everyone watching a little bit of a cheat sheet. I'm sure most of you already know this if you've tuned in from any of the FGC to support. But when the little S is on the round indicators up there, that means it was finished with a super move. S stands for super. Some other great little win icons. Oh man, this is a huge combo. Some other round end indicators, obviously V for victory. If you win without taking any damage, you might get a P for perfect. Some games will do a G for great if you win the round at low health.
Yeah, and that was a near perfect round for Yang, as he's just able to take her out when he still has above 2/3 HP, but Chun-Li's able to at least get the first attack and the super for those hits on a 17-hit combo on that, already getting Yang below half HP. It seems Chun-Li is definitely coming alive in this final 3rd round of this 3rd game matchup. Hopefully we'll bring it to a game 4 if she's able to take this and win it.
So we've seen this, she went for that anti-air super option a few times. This is the first time it's panned out. It's very, very powerful if it hits. Obviously you saw the super take, what was that, a good 1/3 out of Yang's life bar. And there we go, Chun-Li secures game 4. So, or game 3, I apologize. So we're moving on to game 4. Just like you called it.
Yeah, the comeback was real for Mu on this Chun-Li, and it looks like she's going to stick with it. And Mitch going back to that Yang that has been so strong for him, but maybe Mu has finally got his number, learning some of these combos against Yang, getting a refresher, learning how to counter him with some of those super arts, hitting, as you mentioned in the past, going with that anti-air. With how much Yang has been jumping to and from the anti-air, could definitely pay off here without having that really zoning mechanic to keep him away from diving in so quickly. A lot of the blocks, but the chip damage coming in, preventing any of those flawlesses from happening, with Chun-Li already at this half for the super, but just burns some of it to try to get out of that corner, but remains there. No big combos coming out either, as both players definitely playing on the defensive after Mitch losing that first game after on a 2 streak. But it looks like he's definitely putting the hurt on Mu right now. Oh, so going into round number 2 with Yang already taking it, what is something you're hoping to see from Chun-Li as a comeback mechanic for her?
So, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Street Fighter 3 is the last Street Fighter to not necessarily have its own quote-unquote comeback mechanic. There's no Ultra, there's no V-Trigger, anything like that. You don't get rewarded as much, or hardly at all, for taking damage in this game. Which is, we'll say, a much more popular idea for game design in the FGC. Oh, that was brutal. Wake Up Super secures the round from like 33% HP, something like that. Goodness, it's a powerful option. But we've been seeing a lot of that dash move that Yang has. That is one of his bread and butter moves, a key part of his kit. Chun-Li has the answers to interrupt it, though, which is one of the intricacies of this matchup.
Yeah, she's definitely been using those king man grabs to throw him back and forth and try to keep him in the corner, because as you mentioned, she wants to keep him at that perfect range where she can hit him and he cannot. And him being that all-in character, he wants to get up close and personal. And she even went for the super reversal and was unable to get it to hit, but that chip damage really coming in strides as Yang quickly evens up the health bars. Chun-Li even goes for the wake-up attack and just hits him with the tail end of it. So now on a sliver of health, things aren't looking too good for Yang, even going for the range moves to chip him down to that bare minimum. But he goes in with the rolling dive kick and is able to get it. Yang takes game number 4 and the match.
Very well done. That almost staged a comeback, but not quite. So Mitch moves on to our grand finals. We now enter our losers bracket to find out who will meet him there. Very excited to see how this plays out. When you're in losers bracket, you are on your last leg. You have to fight with everything you have if you want to make it further.
Yeah, so in this loser bracket, you know the players much better than I do. What do you expect to see from them?
So we saw the Chun-Li and the Yang came out, so I think I'm expecting to see not too different of a roster. Maybe some Ryu is thrown in there. I know Dave loves himself some Chun-Li, so we'll see how it goes, is all I'm going to say about that. It's a happy surprise.
Yeah, wait to be expected to see if we'll even get to a game 5 in this best of 5 bracket. We just finished up round number 1 with Mitch taking the win as Yang, and Mu sadly only able to secure 1 game in round number 3 as Chun-Li. So as we saw up over in this bracket, we're going to throw it over to a quick little 2-minute break. And once we get the bracket set up, we'll be right back.
news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables. But last week, I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full time.
While I work full time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Something to say to lovers turn to strangers, but they stay fools. I'll break the chains, take the pain to save you, save you. Baby, I've been high and low. All the feelings I won't show. It's better if I let you go. You'll be better off alone.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Esports Game Pants Arena. We are here with our Street Fighter 3 tourney bracket going on in this best of 5. We had Mitch just win his first match as Zhang, going off to the finals, with Mu moving on into the losers brackets coming up as Chun-Li. Do you think we'll see the player swap here from Chun-Li for Mu in this losers bracket, or do you think we might see a bit of the same as he takes on his compatriot?
So, as the universe humbles me every waking moment of every day, we got the names wrong in the last one. So, in our losers finals, this is actually Mu versus Buck Dave. The player we saw in the last match was Great Golden Legs, which makes sense because they were playing Chun-Li. But I'm excited for this match. I've seen a little bit of Dave playing. I've seen him play a few different characters, so I'm excited to see what he does in a tournament. I've just watched him casually streaming before. Yeah, go for it. We're going to have a bit of a button check here, just to make sure everything's working, so nothing too exciting here. I was really excited when the Hugo came out, because I like Hugo a lot. But I don't know if Hugo's actually coming out in this set.
Yeah, it would definitely be a change of pace for us, as we've seen a total of 4 characters so far, even in the exhibition matches previously early on. So in a much more of a tourney setting, that changes the player's mindset a lot of the time. So they're definitely going to go to their comfort pick, as we see already a new challenger approach, Elena. So walk us through her kit.
So Elena is one of those third strike footsies characters, almost in the same vein as Chun-Li, but she has some unique qualities of her own. She has that overhead wheel kick that we just saw to close space. She's unique. Every Street Fighter game has its boxer character that only uses punches. Elena is I don't know what the martial art would be called, kickboxing, I guess. She only uses kicks. She has no punch-style moves. She has the same amount of moves as everyone else in the game, obviously. But all of them are kicks, which can make her a bit difficult to read, I've found, in what she's doing.
Yeah, we had a really quick first round there, as she's a pretty dominating force. Not so much of the rush on as Zhang, but really keeps her distance with those kicks, as they have longer range than most of the boxer characters, but they're a bit more of the heavy hitters. So you see Urian try to get a little bit more of a wake-up attacks, as Elena just kind of keeping him cornered, getting all the poke damage she possibly can, even through the blocks. We're going to see the reversal mirror wall come out. Ooh. She tried to super through it, but it did not work, so it brings her down to half health as Urian's tried to close down the distance, but that chip damage really coming in strides here for her. But the command grab once again, slamming her into the ground, trying to even out the health pools, as Elena takes the first match in a pretty clean sweep victory, except for that final round came pretty close. Urian trying to get a grip here, but match 1 goes to Elena.
That was a classic shenanigan that we just saw. You know, Urian brings out that mirror, and you think, I'm going to use my invincible move, get through it, and then it's spaced just right where it doesn't happen, which feels awful when it happens to you. But when you're the Urian player and you have that mirror out, and you just know that super is going to get stuffed by your mirror and you're safe, it's great. It's your master plan unfolding.
And as we jump into this match, Urian having already a better starting showing, trying to keep the health bars a bit more even in his favor so much. With how fast these matches going, players definitely don't have to worry about fatigue, even with how fast their fingers are moving on those game sticks. So hopefully they should be able to keep their stamina for this matchup, even in this bracket of these 4 players. We're going to see Urian do that shoulder charge once again that we saw earlier on in the exhibition matches that have been working out so well, and as well as those electric balls, getting the zoning and that damage that he needs, just so he has to hit her once and take this first round. But those kicks coming in, dealing enough damage that she's able to buy herself some time. But once again, that low kick, one of the longest range quick moves that a lot of these characters have, able to take the first round for Urian.
we've seen a good amount of back and forth so far, which is what you love to see. You love to see both players playing their best. Interesting thing I noticed at the character select is that Urien did not take his Aegis Reflector this time around. He has a different super move, if I saw correctly. There it is. A big old charge move instead of his Aegis Reflector. That's going to help a lot in maximizing on opportunities, getting the biggest combos you can.
Yeah, both super arts coming out for both of these characters, but it seems Urien just had both of his instead and ends up taking match number 2, making this a 1-1 so far. These players definitely, possibly even going to bring us to a round 5 with how quickly these matches are both going and how close they are. We see constant super arts coming out from both sides. Go back to the character select, it looks like they're sticking with their guns and what they got. And especially with how evenly matched this is definitely a showing you want to see in the losers brackets of all places. But it looks like Urien this time went back to that mirror art. So see if that'll help him or hurt him.
Well, we've seen it pay off as a tool for him, where we saw it interrupt that Elena's super earlier. But he did win with the Tyrant charge. So very, very interesting to see how that is going to pan out. Elena being a dominant force so far, although the comeback might have just started. Commentator's curse. The moment you say something, the opposite happens. Elena taking, with that low poke, taking the first round of our 3rd game.
Yeah, able to close that very quickly, utilizing the range on her kicks, definitely closing the space as Urien tries to zone her out with those electro balls, but the air attacks coming in strong with Elena not using any of that anti-air that she has, and those knee downs definitely using it, but that super art comes in and gets that 7-hit combo onto him, getting him down to half HP, but he's able to quickly close in that health bar and even uses his super art to finish it out. The comeback mechanics are real, so he takes round 2 in game number 3.
Great thing about Third Strike is that when you come back, it's you doing it, not you pressing both your heavy buttons and getting extra special moves. But it's been an incredible showing so far. That violent knee drop that we're seeing from Urien is appearing to be a powerful move. Couldn't properly hit confirm the super, which happens to all of us, and Elena gets a big punish. Urien is potentially at 1 hit here.
Yeah, Elena has been able to consistently hit that super punish with those kicks on Urien, and he definitely hasn't had an answer for it because usually he's supering into her block, so she's able to punish him with that super, but he quickly ties up the health bar with that shoulder charge that has been able to close the distance for him so quickly, so he's going to try to zone her out with those electric balls and just lower her HP as low as he can get it within pretty much 1 hit, and with that shoulder charge once again is able to take her down right as she is landing, punishing those constant jumps. So Urien takes game number 3, bringing it to a 2-1 right now. So as we enter game 4, what are you going to hope to see from this Elena to try to bring this back, as she had such a strong showing in game number 1?
So actually, peeking at the character select screen, we're seeing my and many people's literal demon come out. Akuma is on the screen. Dave playing Akuma, who is strong by design in these games. Kind of the glass cannon, prototypical glass cannon, has every tool that you'd see with Ryu, but scummier and awful, except for they're actually fantastically oppressive for the Akuma player to use. I just don't like fighting him at all.
Everyone loves playing the final boss character who's just a little bit too overpowered.
Just a little bit. But here we see something, I'm not sure if it was the first time it debuted in the series, but something semi-unique to Urien is his ability to do an anti-air fireball. We've seen him used a few times where it's actually that diagonally angled fireball that interrupts the jump-in attack, a powerful tool of his. And the charge super does not quite go through the fireball this time around. But Akuma has the exact opposite version of the anti-air fireball. He has the jump-in fireball, which is arguably one of his defining tools in this and any Street Fighter game. It's such a powerful move. It lets you put pressure on your opponent from the air without actually putting yourself at that much risk, because it's a projectile. It's not you. You know, makes it that much easier to stay safe while constantly applying pressure to your opponent.
Yeah, and he definitely has been applying as much pressure as he can, as Akuma has been putting the hurt onto Urine, even while blocking, getting that chip damage has stacked up, and with no HP remaining, that final hit takes it, evening up 1-1 for this game number 4 right now in this 2-1 with Urien just up 1, but it seems like we might go to a game 5 with how this Akuma has just been putting on the hurt, just now taking the first damage with Urien just above half HP at the moment, but quickly is evening up the health bars. Definitely a back and forth match that you want to see in the losers bracket, because whoever loses this is out, and then we'll go to the finale with that super art coming in from Akuna, able to definitely put the hurt on Urien. Going to try to throw a couple of those electro balls, try to get a little bit chip damage as the health bars just even out here. Ooh. The Akuma super comes in, and as the electro ball goes just too high, Akuma takes it.
I think that puts us at a game 5, which I'm super excited to see. Dave does have to stick with Akuma now. And it looks like we're going back to that Aegis Reflector Super that we talked about earlier. Oh man, this is some good third strike.
He's definitely going to need the Aegis Reflector with how many projectiles Akuma has been throwing at him. Even that super finish was a projectile that he might have been able to block had he had that kit in his toolbox, but sadly he did not, so he had to take that L. But going into this final game 5 in this best of 5 matchup, seems Akuma is on the up and up so far, putting the hurt on Urien as best as he can, going side to side with those flying windmill kicks. Urien not really having an answer so far, just trying to close the distance the best he can, with Akuma just able to zone him out the best he can, constantly backing up, throwing as many projectiles as he can his way. And with that spinning windmill kick, he takes the first round pretty dominantly, not even falling below half HP.
Dave, you didn't tell me you had an Akuma. Akuma is such a powerful character in this and every Street Fighter game, which I've said, I think, 18 million times so far this stream. Oh, there's the reflection coming out. Is more prevalent in Street Fighter V, but Urien has a lot of shenanigans he can pull with a good amount of awareness. Actually, you can combo your opponent off of their own fireball, which is one of those things that feels great to pull off, feels awful to get hurt by. You know, stop hitting yourself kind of deal.
Yeah, and we actually just saw that happen with Urien trying to go in for that shoulder charge and just missing it, and immediately getting punished, thrown over the shoulder by Akuma. And the super art came out but was unable to connect. So Urien, within the one hit from death, is definitely going to have to try to zone as best he can with this Akuma, just able to jump all around and throw constant fireballs at him. He's not looking good, but he's able to get the command grab off.
Oh.
And even with the T-bag coming out, he's able to get the mirror wall right in the corner. But with 1 HP remaining, Akuma is able to get the wake-up super fireball onto him and takes game 5 and match.
Congratulations to Dave for moving on. That puts us in our losers finals, which is going to be Dave pulling back-to-back, and then Legs, a Chun-Li player from earlier, and they're fighting to play Mitch in the finals. Whoever wins, obviously the grand finals, wins the tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely a sight to behold as we swap over to that matchup. Definitely a close game nonetheless, going to a game 5, as the first game we had only went to a best of 4 with Mitch on that Zhang being pretty dominative. So as we go ahead and swap over, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full time.
While I work full time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Game Pants Esports Arena. We are hopping right into our losers finale with Chun-Li versus Elena or Akuma, as we've been swapping off these two players. So we will have to wait and see which ones they decide, and it looks like it's going to be Ryu and a new character who we have not seen. We might be doing a quick button check real quick before we get into the matchup.
Yeah, we're just having a little button check, it looks like.
So going into this next matchup, we already saw an Elena and an Akuma, so we know this player likes to swap it up. So what do you think they might swap to next?
Well, Dave is full of surprises, as we've seen today. I didn't know he had an Akuma, much less a nasty Akuma like that. So it wouldn't surprise. Well, it surprised me, but I'm halfway expecting him to bust out something new. However, looks like as we're getting into it, we have Elena versus Ryu going into this matchup.
So Elena with those kicks definitely trying to zone out and keep them at the perfect distance like we saw with Chun-Li. And with Ryu having a pretty good mix-up of moves here, what do you think is going to be his strategy going to this Elena, who's almost going to pull off a perfect as Ryu finally gets that throw in? Seems to have a pretty strong showing so far. So what do you want to see from this Ryu, as it looks like round one's pretty securely Elena so far?
So far, there we go. Ryu is very much needs to be the defender in this matchup. Elena is going to have a lot of tools to get past his fireballs, get past his buttons, get past almost anything he can do. So the important thing for a Ryu player here is to be landing those anti-airs, taking any opportunity you can to get some damage in, and hoping that you can convert that into pressure, convert that into a win. We see Elena having that super jump, which is a fantastic tool. You'd think having a longer jump would make it harder to actually get in on people because you're in the air for that much longer, which means you can get hit out of the air for that much longer. But Elena's super jump is just such a different tool than almost anything else in this game that honestly just throws people off more than anything. But it looks like our second round is going to Ryu with that super art finish.
Yeah, I timed it pretty perfectly for the Elena with the jumps, because as you mentioned, with that super jump, she's going to be in the air longer than most characters. So Ryu was able to charge up his super and get the hit off as she came down landing, and even was able to get the stun meter off, so he's able to finish her without any contention coming from Elena. So going into this third and final round of this game number one, seems Ryu's definitely had to lose the first round to get an idea of what he's up against, and then is going to do a clean sweep of these next two, try to get that last minute fireball with Elena pretty much at 1 HP, but seems he is able to get the counter through her kick, and he takes game number one. Elena definitely had a strong start, but Ryu was able to adapt much quicker there as he took 2 and 3. Looks like we're going to have the return of Akuma as well.
So this is the classic of classic matchups. Ryu and Akuma are, like I said earlier, the Jedi and Sith of this game. Ryu is usually kind of exemplifies kind of the core mechanics of the game. One might say how you're supposed to play it. What is that Street Fighter game? And then Akuma takes that and is like, hey, I'm going to beat you over the head with what I normally do and not play this game anymore.
But it seems Ryu's playing the right way and gets a pretty fast win there. We're still about half HP to his name in that first round. definitely proving that the light side wins even if you are for the Empire here.
Ooh. Okay. So, this is. Oh man, I'm sorry.
The super arts coming out from both sides, but thankfully only Ryo's landed and Akuma's got blocked. And Ryu clean sweeps game number 2. Akuma not even able to take a round.
Ryu has, I guess, some experience with fighting Akuma. I would say in the lore, you know, so it makes sense that this matchup might go a little bit better for Ryu. But we're seeing another character swap to another Shoto, like we were talking about earlier. Ken, Ryu's much more amicable rival, all that. They have similar kits, just like Akuma and Ryu. Imagine, if you will, a spectrum between zoning, footsies kind of play and the rush down combo kind of play. If Ryu's on one side of that and Akuma's on the other side of that, Ken usually falls right in the middle. He has a few more of those aggressive tools, a few more of those mix-up tools, but he doesn't have an air fireball, which means I like fighting him a lot more.
Yeah, and it seems it was definitely the swap up that this Ryu player did not expect, as Ken takes round number 1. Seems being in the middle is the perfect place to be, as he's able to just have a lot of these switch ups that Ryo's not been able to counter for us. He's already stuck in the back corner. Michio Hadouken even meets in the middle. So both players have the max super as well, so we could see a lot of flashing moves coming out here as Ken is falling to barely lower health than Ryu, getting some chip damage in as he can. We even see the command grab come out, and twice even throwing him back and forth. And a third time, definitely a little bit cheese here, trying to break that guard and throw him off, and it seems to work as Ken clean sweeps game number 3. Player 1 takes it.
So, move you might have noticed in that match, Ken has that little step kick that he likes to do. It's an interesting move because he can also, it has a long startup that lets him reach with it a lot. But the other part of it is he can actually fake doing it. So you can see him step forward and think, oh, the kick is coming. You know, you hold back to block and then you're ready to punish it. But he's faked it and now he's grabbed you and you're on the floor again. So it looks like we're going to see the swap to Chun-Li from Ryu. Ken versus Chun-Li is kind of an infamous matchup in this game. Both are considered very, very strong characters. Some people would say the 2 best characters in the game. And with a game as old as this, you know that's not just what's the word? Just talk. It's yeah. There's 20 years of evidence to support that.
Yeah, it seems Chun-Li has really made the difference here for this player, as he's able to super art finish Ken and even gets the C for it, with that close victory being at low health. Seeing if Ken will have an answer in this second match, as he even gets the first little chip damage onto Chun. But he also has the max super here, so she definitely has to keep an eye out on what he might have in his kit. The back pocket definitely is the scary thing here. But Chun-Li having a lot of counters, able to get a lot of reversals onto Ken with his consistent punishment, even with the fireball coming out, but she's just able to dodge it with the getting up high frames. So far, a pretty close match in this second round, but with the super kicks coming out, Ken's at 1 HP. Chun-Li able to just get that low kick and takes game number 4. I believe that is also a match.
That is also the match. Great Golden Legs is going to move on to our grand finals to face his demon, Mitch. So the question is, for Legs, how is he going to avoid a repeat of last time, avoid a double jeopardy situation?
Yeah, it was definitely the matchup for us, but as we get up for this finale of Street Fighter 3, we're going to throw it over to a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll be back with the grand finale with Zhang versus Chun-Li as we did in the very beginning.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full time.
While I work full time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the final matchup in our Boise State Brawl in Street Fighter 3. We saw round one go over to the side of Mitch, so he did not have to go into the losers bracket. Then we saw the losers bracket with Elena and Akuna beating down the Urian, moving on to round number 2 of the losers bracket, bringing it down to the Chun-Li and the Ken, with Chun-Li being able to bring out in the final round 4, being able to get that 3-1 sweep. So now we go to a return of the very first match of Mitch and this Chun-Li player. So we'll have to see if he's learned enough to be able to come back, as he's been pretty warmed up fighting multiple opponents, as Mitch just had his first opponent. So going to this final match, do you think he's going to bring any new characters, as we already saw him in the previous match bring up his Ryu? Do you think that'll be enough to counter this Mitch on his Zhang?
So Mitch's Yang is such an oppressive force, as we've seen so far. So we've obviously the Chun-Li already fell to Yang. The Ryu might come out. At this point, you have to try something. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen, as always. I suspect we're going to start with the Chun-Li.
Yeah, that zoning mechanic is very good, but with Zhang's all-out rushing force, you have to see if she's going to be able to deal with it this time, as Ryu was definitely more stayed back and played more conservatively last time. So we'll have to see if that playstyle really throws him off his game as we get into this game number 1 of the grand finale of this Boise State Brawl. We already had our Street Fighter 5 debut with that match going very well for them. So in Street Fighter 3, this third strike, what is, with that Akuma also coming out last time, do you think we might see Akuma here? As you mentioned, he's a pretty strong, powerful character here.
So Akuma was Dave's character. We're not seeing Dave in these grand finals. So it's going to be Ryu versus Chun-Li. It looks like we're not seeing the Yang quite yet. Maybe given a fighting chance, something like that. So we'll see how the Ryu pans out, I guess. This is kind of a risky decision if you think you're if you're confident in your ability to win, and so you go with a secondary character that can be risky, because if you win but just barely, that means you're stuck with that character for the next time around.
Yeah, and this Ryu already at half HP. This Chun-Li has definitely been putting on the hurt for him, but with these recent blocks, he's able to get the counter with the Shoryuken right into, but it looks like she's going to pull out the super and able to finish him off for round number 1 in this finale with a 13-hit combo coming out. Even gets the super finish. So Ryu just jumping right into it and immediately getting punished for it as he misses that aerial attack. Chun-Li seems to be able to keep him at that perfect distance, as you mentioned prior so far. We're going to see the super Hadouken even come out and land onto Chun-Li as she's getting up. Time that perfectly. Unable to dodge it. We see the reversal try to come out, but she is unable to get the hit on. But then quickly Ryu gets it, so she's going to come back with the super on the 17-hit combo. It's been a very back-to-forth round.
So far, it's great to see. Chun-Li's in kind of a bad spot here with that reversal blocked. Leaves her wide open and jumped over by Ryu, what she was trying to do on wake up there, which means 1 hit away from the round being over. We call that the magic pixel.
And it looks like Ryu is going to be able to close it out with about a quarter of his HP remaining, so still a very close bout here. So we come into the final round of this game number 1 of this final matchup. Seemed Ryu had a slow start, but has definitely been picking it back up. Definitely Mitch on this Ryu is still a force to be reckoned with, not as powerful as his Zhang, as that all out was definitely a force to be reckoned with, but that super just missing is going to get punished with Ryu's own super. Tying up that health bar is pretty close. Those fireballs being able to anti-air Chun-Li and close that distance, as Ryu will perform much better than Chun-Li in that distance, so she wants to keep him at the perfect. The fireball even comes out and knocks her out of the air once again. The anti-air is strong on the side of Ryu, and it looks like he's going to take round number 1.
Very, very well played. Mitch is stuck on his Ryu now for the next game, so we'll see maybe if we see the Ryu mirror match coming out, or if let's just stay on Chun-Li here, and it looks like it will be, no, it is Ryu versus Chun-Li again.
Maybe possibly switching up that super move, see if it'll make the difference for her. So we return to round number 2, see if Chun-Li is able to bring it back, or if Ryu will continue his streak, and then possibly a character swap might come. But with round number 1, bit of a slower start, a good little combo there coming out from the side of Ryu, even able to get the counter off. Misses the Shoryuken, so she's able to get that small little punish damage, just happened to knock him too far away. Both reversals coming out from both sides, the windmill kicks, but it seems Ryu is just having the better luck here, as Chun-Li's just stuck in that corner, unable to get that perfect distance that she needs, as you mentioned prior. Seems Ryu is definitely having the much stronger start with those fireballs, able to just zone her out, and she's unable to close that distance. We do see the grab come out from her to get that little bit of damage, but Ryu with those fireballs is able to just take her out in round number 1.
So Chun-Li has a fireball of her own, but it is nowhere near as powerful as Ryu's Hadouken. Chun-Li's fireball is shorter range, and Ryu can just throw him faster. So we're seeing a lot of the intricacies of this matchup here. Chun-Li, like we were talking about with those larger buttons that are incredibly fast. And Ryu having his very diverse set of tools to play. He can play his anti-air game, he can play a fireball game, he can rush down a little bit. Ryu can do whatever you need him to. And we saw that again, the anti-air wake-up super come out. It didn't land this time and gets punished But when you have to bet it all, that would have won the round if it had connected. So it's a worthy risk to take, even if it didn't pan out.
Yeah, Mitch maintaining that lead, able to get a clean sweep in that round number 2 as we go into the final round for Mitch, if he's able to take it. So we might see a possible character swap here off Chun-Li, as she's not been able to get a single round in that previous matchup. So we'll have to wait and see if that's coming up as we go over to the character stream. And it looks like he's sticking with that Chun-Li and see if that'll make the difference here, because he hasn't been able to really have an answer for Ryu dodging that super last time. It was really good timing on his end. We're going to see the first attack at least go over to the side of Chun-Li as a sign of good faith, but he's quickly going to answer with that short Yukin, as those jumps really haven't been paid off for him as he's trying to constantly get out of that corner, but Ryu pushes her right back into it. Mitch on this Ryu has definitely been a force to be reckoned with, as Chun-Li just hasn't had an answer for him since that first match.
That was an incredible whiff punish with the super. I mentioned this during the exhibition matches. Mitch is our resident third strike head. I wonder sometimes if he made the game himself. He knows it so well. So we're seeing that come out here. The parry on the EX Fireball, like I was talking about earlier, kind of has a shorter range on it and a slower travel speed, which is has its ups and downs as a factor in itself, and the whiffed reversal spinning bird kick leads to the first round of game 3.
Yeah, that was definitely a close victory if I've ever seen one, because Ryu had a pixel of health there. Missing that reversal definitely cost Chun-Li that final round as it came down to the wire, but already showing a good start here, able to get a solid quarter of his health gone, but he's able to get an answer back, and it seems that they're already evened up. Both of them at least have one charge of their super, so we might see that come out from both sides. Probably
there it is.
There it is from Chun-Li, but it is perfectly tech blocked even. So a good thing for Ryu there, as he is up his super now, and with this being possibly the final round for Chun-Li and the game, things aren't looking too good for her.
Resources are very, very important in a game like this, where you only have the one, so you got to manage it well. So, using supers are kind of a really big risk in a game like this, but they do a lot of damage. So, if it pays off, it pays off. We see Chun-Li getting rewarded for a couple of those jump-ins here, but there's the super leaving her with a magic pixel of health, and the EX Hurricane kick coming out to seal the deal. Very, very well played from all of our competitors. Thank you so much for coming out today. Looks like Mitch is going to be our third strike champion.
Yeah, he had a really strong showing on that Zhang, and ever since then, he's just had it pretty easy. He didn't have to go through the losers bracket and fight any of them, and then once his opponent came back, he was able to dominate even off of that Zhang onto the Ryu and just answer everything Chun-Li threw at him. So good on all the players. And it looks like that's going to wrap it up for us with this Rumble in Street Fighter 5 and 3. Want to thank Mason for joining me for today on the co-cast, and thank you all for watching, and hopefully we will see you back here next time for some more Boise State Esports.